Mario is the very epitome of what an all-around character should be. Mario's over-the-top combo game, aerial mobility, and mix-ups allow for Mario mains all around the world to play unique to one another. It's difficult to establish a playstyle for Mario, as he can be played offensively, defensively, bait-heavy, reactionary, and many other ways. Although he doesn't necessarily excel in one unique playstyle, Mario can adjust his playstyle at any time to adapt to the opponent. He excels in close-range combat, and limited by his short range, he must identify his opponent's fighting style and habits in order to get in and dominate them with his frame data and grab conversions. Conditioning and frame trapping is very necessary for Mario, as knowing when to stop a string to force a defensive option can be key, as it may lead to an early kill. It's also important to master his jab lock setups, and knowing at what percents they work.
It's me, Mario!
Generally, Mario has great movement, and he's actually one of the very few characters that benefits a lot from just regularly turning around, because once he turns around, he can cancel the animation at any point with an immediate back air or reverse up smash, depending on the opponent's reaction. And it can be really safe for Mario during neutral. It basically opens up a couple of options for Mario that shield dashing wouldn't. However, shield dashing in itself is still extremely good for Mario, as it allows him to trap landings. Mario's jab comes out at frame 2 and has 2 hitboxes, one on his knuckle and the other one on his arm. The knuckle hitbox pops the enemy slightly into the air, allowing for easier follow-ups, while the arm hitbox pushes the opponent away. The first jab can potentially be a good poke in the neutral to force reactions, especially combined with a perfect pivot. A good mix-up is using jab-jab to grab or forward smash, since it might punish the opponent for buffering an air dodge or attack. And since it has a set knockback, it'll essentially work at any percent. The third jab is simply for adding safe damage and pushing the opponent away, resetting neutral. Mario's jab is mostly used for jab locking. However, the knuckle hitbox does not lock the opponent. In addition, Mario's jab can be held to punish regular getup, ledge jump, or ledge release double jump. Forward tilt is a good move to get the opponent off of you, and even though it doesn't do much damage or knockback, it has great frame data and can be all you need sometimes to knock someone off stage from the ledge and pressure them. It's really good after a spaced aerial to add even more shield pressure or launch the opponent for acting too soon out of shield. Down tilt is one of his most powerful tools since it can combo, shield poke, and can be relatively safe on shield since it has fast frame data. It can lead into devastating strings and force defensive options. It can punish 2 frames in opponents that stall at the ledge. Up tilt is Mario's main combo extender. Do not immediately just waste your double jump here, as it's more about knowing when to use your defensive options and possibly get out. The string is not guaranteed, so there is a way to get out, but just immediately using double jump can result in Mario snatching it, which will be really bad for you. By smash DIing up, you'll actually be able to get out of the string more effectively. Forward smash is the strongest killing move and has the longest range of all of his grounded moves. Mario steps back while starting up and charging the forward smash, making it a good tool for punishing bad spacing and whiffed attacks from the opponent. It has a sweet spot at the Fire Blast and a sour spot at Mario's hand. If it's slightly charged and sweet spotted, it could be safe on shield against opponents that have slow and short-ranged options out of shield. Generally though, it's still an unsafe option. It can be tilted upwards and downwards. Down tilted forward smash is the most powerful punish against 2 frames and hanging opponents. Down smash is Mario's fastest smash attack, coming out at the same time as his down tilt. It's very unsafe on shield and should only be used as a punishing tool. It could punish 2 frames, however forward smash is the stronger option. Up smash is pretty good. Mario's head is invincible during the up smash, making it perfect for punishing aggressive landings and short hops. Against certain characters, it can be relatively safe in the neutral, if it's charged. And it should almost always be reversed, since the hitbox starts behind Mario. Dash attack is mainly for catching 2 frames and gimping recovering opponents. The early hit launches them forward for a potential 50-50 at certain percents. And the late hit launches them behind Mario. All of Mario's aerials serve the same purpose: pressure, combo, and kill. Forward air is the only exception, being more of a hard punish against air dodges and for occasional offstage gimps. In the neutral, back air is for safe shield pressure and finding openings, since you can throw out 2 back air into down air, neutral air, up air, or just 1 back air to a grab. It's a great walling tool both on stage and off stage, and as well as a decent landing option to make it harder for the opponent to punish you. It's an amazing combo starter since it leads to a ton of things. Down air is for punishing short hops and is used as an all-in aggressive approach for Mario, where he can either cross up your shield or not, making it difficult to punish. There is, however, a little window of punishing it just before the last hit of down air. You can also short hop and buffer the down air, which allows you to use neutral air just before landing for extra aggression. The most effective use during neutral, however, is using the landing hitbox, which has really low landing lag. So if you fast fall it, the opponent won't get launched upwards, but just enough for a potential grab or another follow-up. You can air dodge, and some characters can even attack just before the last hit of down air. Unless Mario has rage, in which case it just can't be avoided. And in some cases you can even smash the eye downwards to get out and punish Mario for using it. For detail on when Mario's rage starts coming into play for the down air against certain characters, check out the document in the description. Neutral air is Mario's fastest aerial and can be used as an out-of-shield option. It can be a relatively safe approaching tool if you land with a late hitbox, since you can pressure with jab, down tilt, or spot dodge. Up airs are mostly for juggling opponents. It can still be safe on shield if you land with it while crossing up, or space the reverse hit of up air. If it hits, just like all the previous aerials, you'll most likely start a combo. And finally, forward air, being the hard punisher, also has a few setups. Mario's special moves are good for every single situation and are essential to master in order to adapt efficiently. Mario's fireballs are one of his main tools in a neutral and can be used both offensively and defensively. They are not really effective while grounded. They are effective, however, if you full hop and buffer the fireball. This can be performed easier if you set a shoulder button to jump or special. By full hopping and using fireball at closer range, you'll most likely condition the opponent into shielding and can potentially land with an aerial to find an opening. If it's used at long range, it creates an effective approach for Mario, since if they try shielding the fireball, you'll get a free grab. And of course, if the fireball hits, you'll also get a free follow-up. You can deal with the fireballs by reflecting or perfect shielding them, jumping over them, which still can be countered by Mario, or rolling away from them. Therefore, fireballs can become a big problem if you are already cornered to a point where you cannot roll backwards. Defensively, they can be used to condition forth a response or an approach if the opponent is set on always walling you out. They can also be used to edgeguard opponents recovering low and potentially snipe them out of their double jump. If the opponent gets hit close to the ledge, panics, and throws out an immediate up special, you can counter them with a down smash or flood. Fireballs are also good for covering Mario's return to the stage when he's been launched, since they drop at such a steep angle. However, keep in mind where the opponent is, since the move still has a lot of lag and the fireballs can be eaten through with aerials. Lastly, when landing, Mario can either B-reverse or wave bounce fireballs to completely shift his momentum. Other than that, fireballs are generally good for adding damage and to create a pressure situation after you've launched them with an attack. Super Jump Punch is not only Mario's main recovery, but also used as a combo breaker, combo extender, or even as a killing move. The early hits stack with rage, allowing Mario to kill extremely early with it if only the early hit connects. And if you recover and hold the analog stick down at the same time, you'll be able to hit the opponent. You can release the analog stick whenever to grab the ledge. And if you manage to grab the ledge before the last hit connects, you'll put the opponent into a tech situation. This can be really helpful after you've gotten trumped. Overall, it's an incredibly safe and decent recovery. However, you can still potentially challenge it with certain moves and trade, or beat it completely with disjoints. Offstage, it can stage spike, since it's really hard to know when to tech the move. And obviously, up B out of shield is an amazing option for Mario for quickly punishing the opponent. Mario's cape can be the key to beating most matchups since it turns the opponents around, making it one of the best, if not the best, gimping tool in the game. The only real way to deal with this is by pressing up B to the opposite direction, if you can predict the cape. The cape also reflects projectiles starting at frame 6. It also helps Mario stall before landing, and it can turn him around off stage so that he can recover with his back and pressure with back airs. And finally, it aids him in pulling off footstool to jab lock setups. An extremely effective and deadly combo is down throw, up air to footstool, then cape, and fast fall with neutral air to reset the opponent and score an early kill. The setup is easy enough to be consistent for Mario. You just need to practice the timing and know the percentage. The only difficult part is following the opponent's DI, or guessing the right direction. For in-depth information on when this setup starts working against certain characters, check out the document in the description. Flood is one of the most bizarre and effective special moves in the game. It doesn't deal any damage, so it's purely strategic, and it can be used in a variety of ways. To begin, ideally, Mario should always have his Flood charged, unless he has something more pressing to do, like edgeguard or catch a landing. If the opponent is in a disadvantageous situation, do not pass it up in order to charge. Uncharged Flood can be used in the upcoming strategies, but it won't be nearly as effective since the more you've charged Flood, the more launch power and range it receives. As you're spraying water, you can angle it upwards or downwards, and the water can be neglected by simply shielding or potentially air dodging. Flood cannot be reversed. However, you can use the cape first and then Flood. Charging Flood in itself can be used in order to force approaches. By charging with his back to the opponent, Mario can threaten with back air or reverse up smash, and charging while facing the opponent allows Mario to threaten with shield grab or Flood's water. Once Flood is charged, there are a lot of ways to use it. The first and most broadly applicable use is to gain stage control. A practical example is whenever Mario is being walled out. If Mario uses Flood when the opponent is airborne, it'll push them upwards and towards the ledge, allowing Mario to take stage control plus a positional advantage, along with giving him the opportunity to read the opponent's option as they try to reclaim stage control. Another use of Flood is to punish the opponent for whiffing an up special. Since some characters can escape the down throw to up tilt combo with an immediate up special, Mario can keep conditioning this habit and then hard punish it with Flood for an easy kill. You can also punish opponents for retreating or trying to escape from Mario with Flood, which immediately will create an edgeguard situation. Flood can also be used as Mario is recovering, to push the opponent away and disrupt their edgeguard or ledge trap attempt. However, keep in mind that Flood will do nothing to stop non-item projectiles since the water is transcendent. And finally, the main use of Flood is, of course, edgeguarding. Flood alone can gimp certain opponents with poor or linear recoveries, or those that do not sweet spot the ledge immediately. And for the recoveries that it can't gimp on its own, it'll still put the opponent in a really awkward position. Mario can be played any way you like. He works really well at any stage. However, platforms will always allow Mario to heavily excel on his combo and killing game. He's still limited to only one double jump, and he can have a hard time finding his way in against characters that are really good at walling him out and juggling him. He can also struggle against characters that can trade heavily with him at close range, and most of all, correctly executed ledge traps. And so, it's really important for Mario to adapt accordingly to get in on the opponent and dominate them with his aerial mobility, quick aerials, frame data, frame traps, and rewarding grab game. And on top of this, he also has a really effective ledge trapping and gimping game. The reason why Mario actually performs so well is because every single Mario plays somewhat differently because of how flexible Mario is. And so even though you might have mastered the matchup, it's still all about adapting to the player. Mario's fireballs, neutral air, down air, back air, and up air all condition forth shields. And so an aggressive Mario would heavily focus on pressuring with these tools to get in and get as many grab conversions as possible. And since even a grab can potentially score a kill, eventually the shield conditioning will transition into double jump, air dodge, spot dodge, and roll conditioning, which is how Mario then finds kills for his smash attacks and back throw. A defensive Mario always looks for an opportunity to use Flood, while walling opponents out with his aerials and punishing bad aggression to initially claim stage control. Priority number one, however, is always getting a grab somehow. Once you get a grab, there are tons of different combos. At starting percents, up throw will usually be the most optimal choice, since against certain fast fallers and heavyweights, down throw can be DI'd downwards and shielded. It still works really well against normal weights and floaty characters though, since you'll be able to get 2 tilts into a re-grab. Anyway, up throw leads to down air that leads to another follow-up. The opponent can choose to air dodge and get out of the down air, but will leave himself open for another aerial to a re-grab. At this point, it's really just about picking your poison and mixing it up, so the Mario player has to adapt accordingly. Some characters can attack out of down air, and so the obvious choice is to go for back air, up air, or just down throw instead. However, remember, if Mario has rage, the down air can't be escaped. At the same time though, with rage, Mario can down throw to up tilt safely against fast fallers without having them shield. At mid percentage, you'll usually want to go for down throw, as it leads to the most amount of damage. At high percentage, between 80 and 120 percentage, depending on character and rage, down throw to forward air starts becoming a 50-50 if the opponent DIs away from Mario. If they DI towards Mario or don't DI at all, it can become a true combo against certain characters. At higher percentage, when up air stops being true, super jump punch can still work. However, be careful because the opponent might air dodge if you try it against too high percentage, which will really get you punished. The most optimal way of DIing down throw at mid to high percentage is down and away, which can limit or at least make it harder for Mario to combo, as Mario's down throw combos are all based on weight and how the opponent DIs. On a stage with platforms, DIing away from the platforms will be the more optimal choice, because it'll at least not get you killed. If you want a specific character to have its own art of video, then please check out the link in the description below. You can donate and vote for what character should be next in the series. This video was made possible thanks to these people who funded the project. Thank you guys for all of the support. Shoutouts to Zenyou, Roguepenguin, Bryggiz, BSP, Ally, Wizzy, and Vic for helping me out.